Hi, if you want to pass your learner's license test in 2024, then watch this video. But before we start, please subscribe on my channel and like this video. I've noticed that over 70% of the people who watch my videos have not subscribed to my channel. So I'm here to urge you to please subscribe on my channel. All right, so we are going to kick it off with the overview, controls of the vehicle, and then we look at the regulatory signs. Okay, so before we start, I just want to highlight that under regulatory signs, you have control signs, command signs, prohibition signs, reservation signs, comprehensive signs, restriction signs, selective restriction signs, and the traffic signals. So this is what we will be covering under regulatory signs. So in this video, we are going to look at the overview, controls of the vehicle, and regulatory signs. Okay, so here's the overview. By the way, we are using the Auto Trader Learner's License Guide. This is not a paid advertisement for Auto Traders. It's not. It's just the document that I'm using. All right. So what is a learner's license? So before you start your driving lessons on a public road, you need to present the instructor with your official learner's license, so you can apply to be tested for a learner's license at any registered driving license testing center known as DLTC on the appropriate application form from LL1. Okay, so that, you should know. So the learner's license test will cover the following. The learner's license test will cover rules of the road, road traffic signs, signals and markings, the use of controls of a vehicle. Okay. So, and then this is very important. This as part of preparing for your learner's license test. How long is a learner's license valid for? The learner's license will be valid for a period of 24 months from the day of issue. 24 months from the day of issue. It's very important to note. Okay, and then now, what is the minimum age requirement to obtain a learner's license? Minimum age requirement. This is also important. You could find this in your test. So for a motorcycle or motorcycles that are 125cc or less without a sidecar, it's 16 years of age. So the 125cc talks about the engine capacity of that motorcycle. And then light motor vehicle. So it's not motorcycle, it's light motor vehicles, not more than 3,500 kgs, 17 years. Okay, remember, this is the minimum age requirement. So 17 years, this is known as your code 8, and then all other vehicles, including motorcycles over 125cc. So this is 18 years of age. This this will be your code 10, code 14, and motorcycle that are over 125 cc engine capacity. Then now we're looking at the disqualifying factors for obtaining a learner's license as per legislation. The disqualifying factors for obtaining a learner's license as per legislation. So I'm just going to read through this. If you have been disqualified by a court of law or competent authority from driving a motor vehicle and that order is still valid. Number 2, if you already hold a valid license to drive the same class of vehicle. If your license to drive has been suspended or the cancellation period has not yet expired. Addiction to the use of any drug or the excessive use of intoxicating liquor. If you are suffering from one of the following diseases, which are uncontrollable epilepsy, sudden attacks of disabling giddiness or fainting due to hypertension, any form of mental illness to such an extent that it is necessary to be detained, supervised, controlled, and treated as a patient in terms of the Mental Health Act of 1973, Act number blah blah blah, okay? Any condition causing muscular coordination problems, uncontrolled diabetes mellitus, defective vision in accordance with a prescribed standard, certified by a registered optometrist, any other disease or physical defect which is likely to render you incapable of effectively driving and controlling a vehicle without endangering the safety of the public. Note that deafness is not considered a defect. Right. Okay, I'm not going to read under what will I need when I apply. I'm not going to read that. Then we go down to how will I be tested. So here we're looking at the structure of your test. So you're going to get 28 marks for the rules of the road, 28 marks. And then the pass mark is 22. Road signs, signals, and markings, it's 28 marks again. The pass mark is 23. The controls of the vehicle, it's 8 marks. Pass mark is 6. Okay. So then it goes like this. It goes like this, guys. This pass mark, as you can see, if you happen to get 21 here, you get 28 here, and you get 8 here, it's gonna be a fail. Okay. Again, if you happen to get 28, you get 22, you get 8. Again, it's a fail. So what must happen then? You either get exactly these or above in every category. Right. So now let's go down to the controls of a vehicle. So this illustration will be given. Where it's labeled exterior mirror, wiper, rearview mirror, indicator, steering wheel, hooter, accelerator, foot brake, clutch, parking brake, gear lever. This illustration will be given. So then this is what you need to know. Okay. So there you refer to illustration, then there are the numbers, and then the name of the control is here, and the function is then noted there. So to check if it is safe to move, you use your mirrors, which is number 1 and 3. To indicate your intention to change direction, you use indicator, which is number 5. To turn or to change direction, you use the steering wheel, which is number 4. To ensure that the parked vehicle remains stationary, you use parking brake, which is number 7. To select a gear, you use clutch and gear lever, which is number 6 and 8. To increase speed, you use accelerator, which is number 10. And then to stop or reduce speed suddenly, you use foot brake, which is number 9. Okay? Right. So, this is then what we do. Okay? To negotiate a sharp turn. You use these controls except for accelerator. I believe they made an error. It's just an error here because it shouldn't be accelerator but foot brake. Hence here you see number 9. So these are the controls that you use if you want to negotiate a sharp turn. Rear view mirror, exterior mirrors, indicator, gear lever, steering wheel, and a foot brake. Okay? Right. Then, now let's get to the regulatory signs. So, we're going to start off. As you remember earlier on, I did mention that under regulatory signs, you have control signs, command signs, prohibition signs, and so forth. So here we are going to start with your control signs. Okay, control signs. So let's read here to understand what are control signs. So these signs tell you where to stop, where to yield, in which direction to drive, and what special rules apply. So permanent control signs are red and white, sometimes with black symbols, and they come in a variety of shapes. These are your control signs. They come in a variety of shapes. They come in different shapes. So this is to say, or this is to help you differentiate, because other signs, they come in one shape. Like you check your command signs, it's one shape. Your warning signs, it's one shape. Prohibition sign, one shape. But with the control signs, it's different shapes, and the primary colors is red and white. Okay. Now let's look into them. So you have the stop sign, number 1, the stop sign. So you see the shape of a stop sign, and then number 2, you have the yield sign. You see the shapes are different. So the stop sign, your vehicle, you must come to a standstill before the stop line. So this is your road. There is the stop line. Often written stop. Okay. So when the stop sign is there, you must come to a standstill before the stop line. There is the stop line. Okay. So if the road is not marked, then the front of your vehicle should be in line with the stop sign. If the road is not marked, so your vehicle, you must come to a standstill. But with the yield sign, you just slow down, and if it is safe for you to proceed, you just proceed. And then there is a three-way stop. You get it at a T-junction. Okay, T-junction. So then there'll be a stop sign, and a stop sign. Three-way stop. Okay, and then the four-way stop, you get it at the crossroad. Okay, crossroad, the road like this, crossroad. Okay, sorry. So then you get stop sign, way, stop sign, and stop sign. Four-way stop like this. Okay. All right, and then let's move on quickly. You have the yield to pedestrians, so you must give way to pedestrians. You have the stop and go. When the stop is shown, you stop. When the go is shown, you proceed with caution. Stop and yield. If you're proceeding straight, you stop. If you're turning left, you yield, you slow down. And then you have the pedestrian priority. So this sign means that the pedestrians have the right of way. You should always give the pedestrians the right of way. And then you have the yield to oncoming traffic. Yield to oncoming traffic. So the yield to oncoming traffic, you often find it, or you find it on a single carriage way, which is used by traffic going in both directions like this. This is then known as a reversible lane. So then you oftentimes get this sign, of which is yield to oncoming traffic. Right. Then we move on to no entry. No vehicles may enter this road at any time. And then the one-way traffic. Okay, so it's one way going to where the arrow is pointing. Then we come to command signs. So the command signs. So now, also, let's read on the description. The command signs are there to give instructions. There are two types of command signs. Signs that specify an action that must be taken by all drivers, and signs that specify which class of road user must use a specified section of the roadway that others may not. Okay, so the command signs, you will identify them with their distinct color code, of which is blue and white. So the background is blue, written in white. These are the command signs, and the shape is similar with all the command signs, of which is a circle or a disc shape, circle, eye round. All right, so now this is also what I want to emphasize. There are two types. The ones that tell you or specify an action that you must take, and the ones that specify which road user must use the roadway. So they tell you what to do, and they tell you what road user must use the roadway. So the first sign is there to indicate to you that you must switch on your headlights. The second one, with the big letter T, tells you that you are traveling on a toll route, so you must pay toll fees. So then if you don't want to pay, then you must use alternative route. And then you have the 50, which is there to regulate your minimum speed. Minimum speed means that you are not allowed to drive less than the speed indicated. You are not allowed to drive less than the speed indicated. So then to say that the command signs are there to command you or to tell you what to do. So this 50 will then mean to you, drive at 50 and above. You must drive at 50 and above. And then you have the keep left. I want you to notice this sign is keep left. So keep is like this, but proceed will be straight like this. So this is keep and that is proceed. So it's not the same. So then this sign is keep left. This one is proceed right. So the keep right will also be like this, slightly facing down, like diagonally, but proceed will be straight on like this one. So these signs are not the same. Okay, the keep and proceed. Okay, and then we come to this sign. So with this one, I believe the background is, as the background is yellow, it's an error again, because if it's a temporary command sign, the background will be yellow. But the action that you must take or the sign will be written in black. And the sign will have black borders if it's a temporary command sign. But seeing that the borders are white and the sign is written in white, so then I conclude by saying the background being yellow is then an error. Okay, so but then this sign indicates that you must turn right. Remember, it's a command. You must turn right. Then going down to the last sign on the page, this is to indicate that you must move in clockwise direction. So you often find this sign where you are approaching a roundabout. And then we come to these signs, of which is still part of command signs, but these ones, they then specify the type of road user who must use the roadway. So the first sign is a taxi. This road user must be used by taxis. Then the second one, buses and minibuses. Then the 10T says that vehicles that weigh 10 tons and above. 10 tons and above, okay? Then we come to the other one. Goods vehicles that weigh 10 tons and above. It's goods vehicles that weigh 10 tons and above. And then this one, goods vehicles, pedestrians and pedal cycles. Right. Then we come to prohibition signs. So the prohibition signs are there to prohibit certain actions or classes of vehicles. Certain actions or classes of vehicles. These signs tell you what you may or may not do, or which class of road user may not use a particular part of roadway. These signs are all white disc shape with a red border. Temporary versions have yellow background. Okay, so with the prohibition signs, as much as you understand the command signs are there to tell you what you must do. So the prohibition signs are there to tell you what you must not do. So the prohibition signs are prohibiting what they had said you must do on the command signs. So command signs, they tell you do this. Prohibition says don't do. Do, don't do. Do, don't do. Okay. Right. So these ones are just easy. You see them with a red border and this one stripe like this. Sometimes with one stripe, sometimes there is no stripe. Like, okay, you will see ones with no stripe when we go to limit prohibitions, but they just do it like this. So the first sign, for instance, is there to tell you that turning left is prohibited. You must not turn left. You must not turn right. And then you must not turn left ahead. So that means you have not arrived. So, but where you're going, you must not turn left. And then you must not turn right ahead. So you notice that the background is yellow. So that means temporarily you must not turn right. And then there's a U-turn prohibited. So U-turn is an action that you take. You are traveling in that direction and suddenly you decide to turn back, then you make a U-turn. You turn back. It's a U-turn. Okay? But you'll see when we get to warning signs, there is hairpin band. So the hairpin band, it's also a sign like this, but it's under warning signs. So that means they are warning you of the changes in vehicle movement. So the road is like this. So then this is how you will be traveling. So this is not a U-turn, it is a hairpin banned. Right, then let's move on to stopping is prohibited, parking prohibited, overtaking prohibited, and then overtaking by goods vehicles prohibited, and then this other one, excessive noise prohibited. Excessive noise prohibited. So excessive noise may include playing your music loudly, using your hooter, and revving your vehicle excessively. Okay, and then you have the hitchhiking or picking up passengers. So you may not pick up passengers where this sign is displayed. You may not pick up passengers, or you may not hike as a pedestrian. You may not hike there. Okay, and then you have motorcycles prohibited, and then hawkers, those are the people who are selling by the side of the road, known as vendors, the street vendors. And then you have pedestrians prohibited. Now we come to the reservation signs. So the reservation signs are there to reserve lanes, roadways, or parking areas. These rectangular blue and white signs tell you that a particular lane, portion of the roadway, or parking area is reserved for the use of a specific class of vehicle. So it's R and P. R for roadway, P for parking. But the yellow dotted lines like this, they represent the lane, to say there's a lane reservation for what? For the particular class of vehicle which is then displayed there. Okay, so this one is pretty much easy. Lane, roadway, and parking. But there are a few that I want to explain here. Just like this one, when the yellow dotted line starts like this, it then tells you that there's a beginning of a lane there's a beginning lane for a specified vehicle type. The lane for buses begins. And then we come to this one here. This one is for authorized public transport. Lane reserved for authorized public transport. Okay. Then we come to the bus stop. This is a minibus. You look at the picture here. That is what? That is a minibus stop. All right. And then you go all the way down. Roadway reserved for taxis. Parking. P is for parking. But this one, always when you see a sign with a yellow background, that means it is a temporary sign. So roadway temporarily reserved for taxis. Okay, right. And then we go down to P, parking reserved. There is space for parking. R, roadway for hazardous goods vehicles. Parking for disabled persons vehicles. Parking for hazardous goods vehicles. Parking for authorized vehicles. Parking for 60 minutes, and parking for police. Then we come to limit prohibitions. Okay. The limit prohibitions, it's just showing you the maximum speed or the maximum height, maximum length, maximum width. Like for instance, the first sign, it's maximum speed. Okay, you are not allowed to exceed the speed indicated. And then the height limit, this one, if the height of your vehicle is above 4.42 meters, then you should not drive there. And then the vehicle mass limit, the gross vehicle mass limit. If your vehicle's mass is above 12 tons, then you should not drive there. The width limit, again, length limit, and then the gross axle mass. So the arrow that you see on this sign is pointing at the axle. If the axle of your vehicle exceeds 2 tons, then you should not drive there. And then lastly, you have access temporarily limited to authorized vehicles only. So this sign means authorized vehicles only. Okay, then we come to the comprehensive signs. So the comprehensive signs are there to indicate comprehensive rules. These signs indicate that a comprehensive set of regulations must be adhered to on the roadway ahead. So for instance, the first one, residential area. This one tells you that you are entering a residential area. So what must you note, or what must you remember? You must remember that access is permitted, but you may not drive through a residential area without stopping to break your journey. Number 2, you may not exceed 30 kilometers per hour within a residential area. You must give way to all pedestrians as they have right of way. Vehicles that weigh more than 3,500 kgs or that has more than 10 seats for passengers are not allowed in a residential area, except to gain local access for purpose of loading or offloading goods. Okay? And then you come to dual carriage freeway. This is a freeway. It's where you find the road like this. Maybe there's a barrier here dividing the freeway. So here, then there are vehicles going there, and then this way there are vehicles coming back like this. It's a dual carriage freeway. Right, so the following rules apply to all freeways. Number 1, hand signals are not allowed on freeways except in an emergency. If you are in the far right lane and the driver behind you indicates the intention to overtake, move safely over to the next lane on the left and do not accelerate while being overtaken. Stopping a vehicle on a freeway is prohibited except to comply with the directions of the traffic officer or road sign. In the event of an emergency or in a designated stopping area, learner drivers are not allowed on freeways if accompanied by properly licensed driver. Okay, and then you come to a single carriage way begin. Single carriage freeway. It's a freeway, but it is a single carriage. Okay. So you must note that pedestrians are not allowed. Animal-drawn vehicles are not allowed. Animals, unless in a reserved parking or stopping area where they cannot stray onto roadway. Pedal cycles are not allowed. Motorcycles which are 50cc or less, motor tricycles, motor quad bikes, vehicles that are 230 kgs or less that have been adapted for disabled people, electric motorcycles, tractors, unless they are busy with freeway maintenance. Okay, and then you come to the de-restriction signs. So the de-restriction signs are there to cancel restrictions. So you simply identify them with a red cross. These signs, when you see them, you then note that the sign displayed in the background is no longer applicable, or the rule displayed in the background is no longer applicable. So these are just easy like that, red cross. Then you come to the selective restriction signs. So selective restriction signs don't work alone. Excuse me. So they always work as secondary signs. They work as secondary signs. Okay, so you have a primary sign. So you'll have a primary sign there, but also that will be a primary sign, and then the selective restriction sign will be underneath, which will be working as secondary sign. So let's scroll down and look at the examples. There are the examples: parking for 60 minutes, requiring a parking fee. So this P60 mean parking for 60 minutes. Okay, parking for 60 minutes is what? Is a primary sign, of which is a reservation sign. Parking for 60 minutes. And then this one says requiring a parking fee. This works as a secondary sign, but it is a selective restriction sign. So we go down to see other examples. U-turn prohibited at night. So the U-turn prohibition sign is a primary sign, of which is a prohibition sign, and then the night condition selective restriction sign working as a secondary sign. And then you check all these other examples. Okay, right. And then finally you get to the traffic signals. The steady red disc, right? The steady red disc means what? Flashing red disc. So you know the traffic signals. You don't need me to highlight them all. You know them. So, like for instance, the steady red disc, you stop. You stop. Then the flashing red disc, it works so that this is to indicate that the traffic signal is out of order. So it works as a four-way stop. Steady yellow disc, you stop before the white line and so forth. So I'm not going to go through these. These are just the traffic signals. You know them. So thank you so much for tuning in. See you next time on another lesson. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Cheers.